Brian, welcome and thanks for joining us ahead of your Road to Seville trip. Tell us a wee bit about your Celtic heritage, how long you've been into the club and how you get started as a Celtic supporter.
Yeah, hi Paul. Certainly, I'm 41 years old now. I've been into Celtic ever since I can remember. I think some of the earliest pictures I've got as a toddler are with a Celtic scarf on. So, from 4 years old, my dad took me along to Celtic Park. Very changed Celtic Park in those days. It was very different. But yeah, and I've been a season ticket holder since about '96 as well. So. Been through the old bad times and enjoyed the good times more recently, which is it's hard to believe that the thought processes we used to have in the bad old days.
Of course. So your first experience would have been Celtic around about the mid-1980s?
Yeah. So it would have been, I think, certainly Roy Aitken. I certainly remember the late 80s more. I remember going to Celtic Park, but the first couple of games I'd have been running about, kicking a can about with kids of a similar age, which is something you see the young kids today confined to a small space, something they're not allowed to enjoy. But no, it was certainly the 80s. Paul McStay, Roy Aitken, Peter Grant. It was it was good times before the bad 90s hit.
Good. Brian, just going to pause here. I'm now down to your mouth.
Fine. Right, okay. Let me see if give me 2 seconds, see if I can do something on if it's the settings on it. Because I've got the preview screen on mine and it seems to be okay, so I don't know what's going on.
Just zooming right in you.
Let me see.
See, even if you can just touch it down a wee bit instead and just sit back.
Is that?
That would be perfect.
Right.
That's perfect. Spot on. I can see above your head and below your see down your t-shirt now.
Good. All right. Right.
Okay. So tell us, how did you get into cycling then?
So cycling, I guess I'd followed the guys when they went to Lisbon. I didn't go myself, but I followed what the guys were doing and couldn't do it just because of work commitments and stuff like that. And then I had signed up to the Road to Milan, which obviously was an event which didn't happen because it was due to happen during COVID. I guess that's where I started cycling with a lot of the Lisbon veterans and realised that I was a long way off the fitness required. So it was probably a blessing in disguise for me that Milan didn't happen because it would have been a very painful journey. So there was a lot of work to be done, but we're a couple of years on now, and as I say, the hard work's been well underway. So I guess I've got into cycling just over the last few years as I've got older. It's just it's a good pastime to get out, clear your head for a few hours, and I've met a group of now through this event. I've met a group of like-minded individuals who go out and spend hours on the bike, go over the hills in Renfrewshire and stuff like that, and just chat about Celtic and general goings on. So,
right. And have you done anything of this magnitude before?
No, definitely not. The biggest sort of charity events I've done in the past have been things like 10Ks and raising race nights and stuff like that. So this is something quite new to me. It's something I've always from afar looked at, wanted to do, but now I guess it was the time just doing it for the foundation, and the whole Celtic thing appealed to me, and it was quite a challenge, and Seville holds some key memories as well for me. So it's something to really to mark the occasion.
Of course. Were you in Seville 20 years ago?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, Seville was planes, trains, and automobiles. It'll certainly be emotional going back there. A bit of a personal one for me is I just lost my dad, who'd got me into Celtic just before Seville, just at Christmas time prior to Seville. And it was obviously a tough time for me, but I went away, a group of me and my mates who didn't have, a couple of us had tickets, I didn't have a ticket, despite being to some of the prior rounds, still didn't qualify for a ticket in the final. I think we'd been to Vigo, which was my first away trip. But yeah, so that certainly a group of us, we went. It was cheaper to travel. I think we slept 2 nights rough in Gatwick Airport. So we travelled via Gatwick Airport, and we got 3 nights in Alicante and 5 nights in Benidorm, cheaper than it was to fly direct to Seville. So it was planes, trains, and automobiles, but it was a great trip. Obviously, the memories of the day are like getting to Seville in the heat. So we travelled down from Alicante in the train in the morning and just arriving in Seville in the heat and then coming out the station and just seeing green and white tops everywhere. Yeah, it was a spectacular day. Obviously, the result wasn't great, but proud of the team and everything that they'd achieved in the run up to it. Like the nights, like as I say, Vigo was my first away trip, so for Celtic to, I think that was like we'd qualified for after Christmas for the first time in a large number of years. Yep. I think that was the case at the time, so it was just amazing to be there that night, and the nights beating Blackburn and Liverpool. Just the memories come back, and just even the semi-finals, just watching that in the Life for Wrigley's pub in Govan Hill and spilling out in the street celebrating after it. It was unbelievable.
It was that win in Vigo, that aggregate win over Vigo, that would have been the first time we were in Europe after Christmas in your lifetime at that stage.
I knew it was something ridiculous like that. It was so it was just unheard of, and the fact it was, even though we get beat on the night, it was still, when John Hartson scored that goal, I think that's up there and one of the most celebrated goals that I've ever watched Celtic.
It was a reflection point because it'd been 23 years since we've been in Europe after Christmas, so an entire generation plus had known to expect Celtic to get knocked out. You know, we were fodder basically for the first half-decent team that we came up against, and that inevitably meant the first team from a country who had produced a winner of the tournament, of the big one, was going to beat us out. And I don't think there was a single exception to that rule. You know, we didn't eliminate anyone from England, Italy, Spain. 82, we beat Sporting Lisbon, I suppose, but that was just nipping in there.
Aye.
You know, but every other team that we meant from a quality country had knocked us out, and I had no expectation of it. You know, the Vigo result, just I absolutely expected us to get knocked out at that stage. That would have been the end of it. We'd beaten Blackburn already that season, and that was a big achievement. And you know, to actually go through that night, and then of course the enormously intense 2 games against Liverpool, the Stuttgart game as well, which at Celtic Park was just an absolute joy.
Panic stations. I remember watching that in a friend's house, and we were all arguing with each other because the stress was just phenomenal in that second leg, because we looked home and dry, and then it just looked like we were going to concede, and we were going to throw it away. You kind of, and when we got through that one, you really start. That's when we're going to Seville chat really started. I think that was the point. There was a few that were already nodding towards it, like after Vigo and stuff, certainly. But that was the night that the Stuttgart one was certainly one we believed at that point.
And after we beat Boavista and it was settled, how did you organise your pals and yourself to do the trip?
Well, it was quite a funny one, because at that time, as I say, I had quite a bit of bad luck at that time as well. Obviously, when my dad passed, and I'd been made redundant from my job, so I was struggling a bit to go. And what had happened is a lot of my friends had booked the adventure that they were going on, and one of my friends changed his plans, so his space became available. When my mum came in and says, "I'm not having you moping about the house for this 10 days while you're away. You go, and here's the money. Go and enjoy yourself," which I'll be eternally grateful for, because it was for me personally, it was a changing point. You know, I came back, got a job sorted, just that being away with your friends, being away with the Celtic thing, as though, because we were still in Spain when watching the league game on the Sunday as well. So obviously, from a footballing perspective, it was disappointing, but I guess it's just it's been part of the whole Celtic thing. It's the experience of it. It was just a great couple of days, 10 days, I think we managed to string it out for. So no, it was, as I say, I'll remember it fondly. And when I arrive in Seville on the bike, it'll definitely be emotional. It'll be emotional being on the saddle for so long, but it'll be emotional just from memories. point of perspective, where it's still my best mates to this day that we've all been going to Celtic games with home and away for a long time. So it'll be great.
Good stuff. And of course, you're doing it for the foundation as well. Tell me a bit about your relationship with the foundation. How long have you been aware of them, and you know, what have you done, if you've done anything prior to this for the foundation?
This is my first event for the foundation, and I think I've been aware of the foundation, and one of the things that I'm quite aware of, my wife's a social worker, so one of the things I'm quite aware of is young people who maybe are in their teenage years, that maybe had interaction with the law, the criminal law system or whatever, and they just need, or they've not done well at school or whatever. I've known about the projects that they do in the community, helping these young people find placements, getting work experience, getting involved with the club. And for some of them, it's real life-changing experiences. There's a lot of stuff around the sort of disability side of it, where I know there's the room at Celtic Park where kids can go and watch the games in a safe environment and stuff like that. And there's a lot of stuff around dementia care. So for the foundation, it does so much good work in the community. And it's like, now that I'm in this event doing stuff for the foundation, you become aware of how amazing and how much it's achieved, and what it does, what a real positive impact it has.
Aye. That's great stuff, and you know, echo all of that. It's a phenomenal thing. It's a thing that the Celtic fans, I think, we're obliged to actually have that relationship with it, because without the founding ethos of the club and keeping that founding ethos alive, then we're no different than any other football club. But we have this thing, you know, we have this ability to stretch all the way back 130 odd years into the foundation of their club, and it's a beacon to let us know that, you know, this isn't just a football club, and it isn't like any other football club. It is quite unique, and it's rooted in very, very strong ethical values.
I think so, and that's where it's like, I lived in England for about 6 years, and like just lots of friends down there, and just explaining to them things about Celtic, even from the charity and the foundation experience, to just the whole why so many people went to Seville to watch a final regardless of having a ticket. Lots of people just couldn't understand that, and it's like, look, it's special, it's different, it's not your run-of-the-mill club. Do you know, there's way more. I don't know, I probably don't have the words to describe the positive impact it certainly has in my life and people that you know. Do you know, it's a way of life, I guess I've heard it described, and that's probably a good way for me to sum it up.
Tis, and it speaks of the heritage that we've all been given. You know, that's been passed on by your dad, who you lost just over 20 years ago, and you know, doubtless the generations prior to him.
That's it. It's even my grandpa. I remember both my grandpas coming to games with us through like the 80s and stuff like that, and my uncles and different things. So it's definitely a real family affair. And now I've got a 4-year-old who's getting indoctrinated into the way of Celtic and stuff like that. So still got some work there to do, but we'll get there.
Good stuff. In terms of the work that you're putting in, though, ahead of this trip to Seville, what's going on here? How are you structuring your training, and what's the sacrifices that you're having to make?
Time's the biggest one. So in terms of, as I say, I've got a young family, I've got my own business, so it's kind of time is the time. There's no, like, what I've learned is you just need to put time in on the saddle. There's no shortcuts to training here. It's we went away on a trip, I think it was it last September, with the group of the guys down into the borders cycling, and there's a lot of guys who are, and let's say are retired, that were miles ahead of me going up hills. So that was a big wake-up call for me. So in terms of, I think at the minute I'm doing 9 training sessions a week. So that's a combination of 3 days a week weight training, with like a lot of high interval sections on the bike, whether that's been more so the indoor bike, and I'm trying to get out for at least one big cycle a week, which is at least sort of 40 miles, if not more. Whereas the idea of when I first got my road bike a couple of years ago, the idea of doing 10 miles was frightening. So we're now looking at, what is it, 80, 90 mile a day average over a 13-day period. So and something that's I didn't realise how big the mountains were in Spain that some of them that were going to be going up. So hence why I'm focusing a bit on the strength training as well to get my larger sized body up those mountains.
Aye, no, fantastic stuff, Brian. It really is, and you know, we're a number of weeks away from it at the moment. You've got a lot of time to do all the work, but goodness me, it's I can't even imagine what it's like to put yourself through 80, 90 miles a day for the best part of 2 weeks. It's an incredible thing, and you know, speaking on behalf of the middle-aged community of Scotland, it's something worthy of respect.
No, and it's such, again, it's like the group of guys, I didn't know any other guys that are doing the journey with us now, and it's like, even though I've only met a handful of the guys, or we met a lot with the racing out recently, and we met a lot of the guys, so, but it's just that, because we've all got the Celtic support in us, we all have that bond from the start, but obviously now we've all committed to this big challenge, so that bond's probably a bit stronger, and it's great, and so many of the guys there have helped me along the way, specifically, like there's Alan, one of the main organisers, who's been a great assistance to me and just giving me advice along the way. So it's been great, and that's where now I'm totally hooked on cycling. As much as it sounds a lot, this training, do you know what? I feel good, and it's definitely a positive impact. So no, I mean, I was probably, if you spoke to me in January, I was probably worried. Now it's a bit more excitement than worry. So
good.
So that's no, I'm looking forward to it. So
great stuff. Well, listen, Brian, thanks very much for coming on and telling us a bit about your story and your Celtic heritage and the treat you've got ahead going back to Seville. It's been great listening to you. It's been great listening to your memories of Seville as well. And thank you very much. And take safe out there. It's a long way to go, and very, very, very best of luck with it.
No worries. Thanks, Paul.